let me just start the recording. Okay, fine. So guys, now I have completed the SCD type 1, type 2, type 3. So if I summarize SCD type 1, type 2, type 3, so what happened in SCD type 1, type 2, and type 3? If you see in SCD type 1, we'll overwrite the old value. In SCD type 2, we are adding the records. And in SCD type 3, what is happening, guys? In SCD type 3, what is happening? We are just adding the new column. Yes or no, guys? Yes. Tell me, guys, yes or no? Yes. Are you there with me?
Yeah.
So in SCD type 3, are we not adding the column? Yes or no?
We are adding.
Yeah. So this is fine, guys. So this is the overall gist of SCDs. SCD type 1, override the old values. SCD type 2, add the new records. SCD type 3, add a new column. Fine. Today we are going to discuss a very new topic called as OLTP versus OLAP. So as I've already taught you, there's something called as the difference between database testing and data warehouse testing. So today we are going to discuss the difference between OLTP and OLAP. It's similar that online transaction processing is nothing but your OLTP. OLAP is nothing but your online analytical processing. So what is online transactional processing is that the daily transaction that the database is doing, like someone is buying a particular product for a particular showroom. Suppose a jeans is bought from a Lee showroom. So that is nothing but your OLTP database. That is nothing but your database. And OLAP means what? That is a data warehouse database. That means all the data are getting integrated and loaded in a centralized repository. That is nothing but your data warehouse database using the ETL mechanism. The data gets loaded into OLAP data warehouse database. And I told you the definition of data warehouse: subject-oriented, integrated, non-volatile, and time variant. Do you remember that? Yes. Subject-oriented means what? Is for a particular subject. Like for a sale is a particular subject. So that is nothing but a subject oriented for a particular subject. Suppose a sale is happening, so that is nothing but a particular subject. And then I told you subject integrated means what? What is the difference between database and data warehouse? Database is for a transactional data, one month, 6 month, 1 year data, day-to-day transaction. That is nothing but your database. Data warehouse is what? Integrated from all these databases. If the data gets integrated in a particular database, that is nothing but your data warehouse database. The database to qualify as data warehouse, the main important point is it should be an integrated data. Next is time variant and non-volatile. Time variant means it will be having a huge number of data, means for multiple years, like 5 year, 10 year, 100 year, 1000 years. So that kind of data is not 6 month, 2 month, and 3 month. This kind of data are not in the data warehouse. Always long-term data are in the data warehouse. And then I told non-volatile means what? We'll not do a lot of changes, lot of delete and update and all. We don't do in the data warehouse database because see, this is a 50 years data, and if we'll delete and update, then it will be very difficult to track that particular data, because one, it is integrated, then it is a 50 years, 100 years data. So we do not do that update and delete and all in this OLAP. So this is the difference between OLTP and OLAP. Okay. So I made a chart to make it more precise and make it more clear. So let me just open this particular chart so that there's a better clarity and there's a better understanding. Okay. So let us just see. I have made it divided into some points. Now just see the points. I have given some points. Now the points I have given is 7 points. Yes. Now see the points. What are the points, guys? We'll just focus there. This is the serial number. Okay. This is fine, guys. This is fine. Yeah. So point number 1 tells what is that? Is the property. Properties is what? Response time. So the response time of OLTP will be how much? It will be from where? Sub-second to a second. Okay. Because there's a less amount of data, transactional data. So if we write a SQL SQL, then what will happen? The time should not be very huge. If I write select a star from that particular table, it should not take a huge amount of time. It should be sub-second to second. But if it is a OLAP data warehouse database, then what will happen, guys? The response time will be huge. It will take from seconds to minutes, because there are 10 crore data. So it will take what? Seconds to minute. This is first difference between OLTP and OLAP. Next, operations. Next properties I have divided into operations. What is the operation? In OLTP in database, what will happen? We can do the DML changes, but in the OLAP, it's primarily for the read of the data. We can only use select. We cannot update and delete in the OLAP, that is data warehouse database. Next is the properties called as nature of data. The nature of data for OLTP will be how much? It can be 30 days, it can be 60 days, or 1 year. That is the current data in the transactional database. That is nothing but the nature of data. The maximum 1 year data we can accommodate in OLTP, that is the transactional database. Okay. But in OLAP, how much is the data, guys? It can be 5 year, 10 year, 100 year. That is nothing but your OLAP database. So that is data warehouse database. That will be the nature of data will be what? In a huge amount. That means a huge time or period duration is in the OLAP data warehouse database. Next is data organization. So what is that? Some people tell what is database testing and all, data warehouse testing. I told you the difference. Here the data organization will be what? Application. That here the data will be organized from a particular application. The data will be coming, and that is the primary focus of the organization. Here the primary focus of the organization will be for a particular subject for a particular time. Yes. Now, guys, this comes to the size. What is the size? It is from few MB to GB. This is a very large size. That is what? Few GB to terabyte. OLAP database, data warehouse database will be in gigabyte to terabyte. Then now, how the database in the transactional processing of data get generated? Suppose I fill a registration form. Suppose register user. So what will happen? Sangeeta. Then email ID sangeeta.123@gmail.com. Then what is the mobile number? Then what is the gender? Then what is the nationality? All these things will be in an application. If I click on submit button, the particular user gets registered, and that particular data gets stored in the database. That is nothing but your transactional data. There is nothing but your OLTP data. That is completely fine. And what about OLAP? This integrated data goes in OLAP. So what will happen? That is used for why? That is used for the analysis purpose. So the activities in OLAP is nothing but the analysis. But in OLTP, what is the process? If we fill a form, we'll get this particular data in OLTP database. Database design, that is normalized. Normalized means what? Bigger table is broken into smaller tables. That is the database design of the transactional database. Big tables, we will divide it into small tables. But in OLAP, as I've already told you, the most important thing is integrated. Integrated means what? Denormalized. Denormalized means what? Data is coming from multiple sources and getting integrated. So that is nothing but your mostly denormalized data. Okay, fine. Guys, now this is called as what? OLAP data warehouse. That is nothing but your data warehouse database. Did you understood till this much? Tell me yes or no.
Yes.
Tell me, guys, everyone, did you understood all these points? These very important points. Did you understood this much? Tell me yes or no. Everyone tell me yes or no, guys.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is the properties. This is OLTP. This is OLAP. The first was the response time to seconds to, this is sub-seconds to second, this seconds to minute. This DML changes, primary read only. 30 days to 60 days to 1 year, 5 year, 10 year. Application, this is a particular organization. It can be subject or time. Small MB to GB, GB to terabyte. Filling a form, used for analysis, normalized, mostly denormalized. This is the difference between OLTP and OLAP, which I have prepared in a very precise, in a very accurate way. So you can tell like this, the differences. Next, guys, we have to understand what is a surrogate key. Surrogate key, as I told you yesterday, that SCD, slowly changing dimension. Did I told you surrogate key? Yes or no, guys? Tell me yes or no.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so what happens in surrogate key? Is the database modeler generating it, or it gets generated by itself? by the ETL mechanism, this surrogate key gets generated by itself. Yes or no,
Itself.
guys?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Sequence.
Yeah, this is a product key, is a surrogate key. Now what happens, guys? This surrogate key is a sequence number. See here, this is a surrogate key. This is a sequence number. It will be generated always numeric values. Now this surrogate key, product key, what will happen is, guys, is this will be joined to from the dimension table to the fact table. That means this particular surrogate key is defined as a primary key. Do you remember primary key and foreign key relationship? Primary key is in the parent table and that is joined to the child table using foreign key. Yes or no? Yes. So this particular surrogate key will be always the primary key. Am I clear? In the dimension table, it will be always the primary key. Remember this. Fine. So now, guys, if you have understood this much, so what is the difference between primary key and the surrogate key? So can you just tell me, do you know what is the difference between primary key and surrogate key? What will be the difference, guys? Any idea? So first of all, primary key will be in which database? OLTP or OLAP? Tell me this. Guys, are you there?
OLTP.
OLTP, that means the transactional database, the normal database. This what will happen? This particular primary key will get generated. This is how it is generated. Do you remember that? I told you create table name. How we create a table? Do you remember that, guys? Can you just tell me how we create a table?
Create
Do you remember
table.
this? Create table name.
name.
Whatever name I suppose as I have given, then column name, then
E-name.
data type. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Varchar, suppose, and then I can define it as a primary key or not. Yes or no,
Yes.
guys?
Yes.
If required the constraint. So who is giving this primary key? This is a transactional database. A particular DBA who is generating this particular table can give the primary key or not. Tell me yes or no. Yes.
Yes.
So that is what is that. First of all, it is used to maintain unique record in OLTP, the normal transactional database. It is used to maintain the unique record in OLTP database. What about the surrogate key? It is used to maintain unique record in OLAP, data warehouse database. Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
Do you remember that? If ID is there and then if 2 times, if it gets updated, so data warehouse generates a unique key that is called a surrogate key by itself because it is used to maintain a unique record in OLAP, that is data warehouse database. Is this point clear, guys? Tell me yes or no.
Yes.
Yes. If you have understood this, then tell me what is the second point. Primary key values are entered by user at the time of table creation of the table. Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
At
Yes.
the time of table creation, I showed you no. But
Yes.
how the surrogate key gets generated? Surrogate
It's
key
generated
values
by
are generated by
Itself
system.
it will generate.
By itself, by using the ETL mechanism, it gets generated. Fine.
Yes.
And primary key can be numeric or character. Yes or no, guys? Yes.
Yes.
Surrogate key always numeric at any cost. Yes or no, guys? Yes.
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 Primary key values belongs to a table data. Surrogate key does not belong to the table or business data. This you have to understand. The primary key will be what always for a table data we can use for with respect to the table that is a particular for a business data. Surrogate key does not belong to a table data. It is not a part of that particular table. Yes. So it does not have any business meaning for that particular surrogate key. That means what, guys? That particular ID, do you remember employee ID? So employee ID is in transactional database. Do you remember that? What I told you? Yes or no, guys? I told you what? This is a employee ID. Okay. His employee ID is 1. Okay. And his location is, do you remember yesterday's class? His location is what? His location is India. Now what will happen, guys? From this employee ID to this employee ID, same employee, he went to US. He got on site. Yes or no, guys? Yes. So correspondingly, I told you SCD type 2. So now what happens? This employee ID is getting has some meaning, right? That this is a particular employee ID whose employee ID is 1. Yes or no, guys? That means there's a person whose employee ID is 1. There's some business meaning. Yes or no, guys? Yes. But if it is a surrogate key, suppose here there's a column called as surrogate key, then what will happen, guys? Surrogate key will get generated by how? By itself. Yes or no, guys? Yes. So surrogate key will not have any meaning. Yes. Surrogate key is what? Just to maintain that record unique in where? In the data warehouse database. So it will have what? One surrogate key. Suppose 1001, 101000, and then it will have another surrogate key 1001. So this is what? This is not having any meaning. See, employee ID is having a meaning that this is a particular person whose employee ID is 1. If you want to know about that employee, you can just query with respect to the employee ID. You can get the details of that particular person. But this surrogate key, does it has any business data? No. Yes or no, guys? This is just to maintain the unique record in the data warehouse database. Fine. So now this primary key can be in random order. Okay, suppose character, numbers, all those things can be there, but surrogate key is always where? In sequential order. Did you understood this difference between primary key and surrogate key? Tell me yes or no, guys.
Yes.
Did you understood difference between OLTP and OLAP? Tell me yes or no.
Yes.
Yes, if you have understood, guys, then I also told you yesterday, you know, remember natural key? Natural key is also used to, you remember natural key? I told you yesterday, what is natural key? It is also used to, if it can make a record uniquely identify, if we are able to uniquely identify a record using a particular attribute, that is called as what? Natural key. It can be selected as a primary key. If it is not selected as a primary key, it becomes what? Alternate key. Do you remember, guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
So this is fine, guys. This is a theoretical thing where there are many times this is asked, what is the difference between primary key, surrogate key, what is the difference between OLTP, OLAP. So our difference is what we are teaching you is completely neat.
Vikram, I have one doubt. I'm not clear in the point. Primary key value can be numeric of character.
This one, which one? This one, last one. Huh?
Third point.
This one?
Yeah, primary.
Yeah, primary key can be numerical character. Suppose this is a particular primary key. Okay, now suppose this is an employee ID. Okay, so employee ID cannot be only one, right? I can make it as 1A for one employee, and I can make it as 1B. Sorry, this is the same employee. Suppose some other.
It will accept character also. Primary key. I thought it will have only.
We can use no characters to make a particular record unique, right? It should be just unique. Tell me yes or no.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is guys. This is the difference. Okay, but surrogate key is always numeric. Yes or no, guys? Yes.
Yeah, Vikram. One question.
Yeah,
means in surrogate key we have to add.
Yeah, tell me. Surrogate key we have to add what? What are you telling?
Surrogate key. We have to add one artificial column, or it will be generated automatically in OLAP system?
No. It will get generated automatically. You have not done my STD class, no? So in the slowly changing dimension, there's something called as slowly changing dimension. There's something called as dimension in data warehousing. There's something called as dimension and fact. Okay. So what happens now? This particular surrogate key, we are not generating. If you see this diagram, okay, this is primary key, okay? Let us just see. Okay, understand. This is the primary key. Which is the primary key here? See. Let me just remove this and let us just brought this. Okay, this is the primary key. Okay. Suppose it's a natural key. Natural key means it can identify this record uniquely. Suppose ABC922Z. Okay, this is a particular uniquely it is identifying a record. Okay, now what happens? This particular person, this is the particular department, this was a person product which was in education department, it went to the strategy department. So this natural key will be same only, but now it is not unique. Okay, so what will happen is there is a surrogate key. This is a surrogate key which gets generated by itself in the data warehouse database, not in the normal database.
It is an artificial column.
No, not an artificial column. There is a particular column which is in the data warehouse, which gets generated. How will you identify this person uniquely? See, in the normal database, you are telling what? This is a particular employee whose ID is 1. Okay, this is his ID is 1. Okay, so this you can tell what normal database. Okay, this is a person whose ID is 1, and we can identify him uniquely because this is ID 1. This is fine. Normal database. But what happened in data warehouse database? What happened, guys? Here, this particular person is again going where? He's going to US. Will his employee ID change if he goes to US? Tell me yes or no. No, that person unique employee ID will be same only. He goes to US. Okay, he got an on-site opportunity. So he got an on-site opportunity. Will his employee ID change? No, his employee ID is same for the organization. Now this is not making this particular record as unique. So what happens in data warehouse? A particular surrogate key gets generated so that that particular record becomes completely unique in the data warehouse database. It gets automatically generated, and we can see this column. This is very, very important column, because to maintain that record, what? Very, very unique. This particular key gets generated by itself. This particular key we will use as a primary key to join with the fact tables. Am I clear?
And the column name will be automatically given or what?
Yes, the column name will be automatically given and automatically generated by the data warehouse. We will not involve ourselves in this particular generation of this surrogate key. Are you able to understand?
Okay.
This will be generated by whose? By the data warehouse ETL mechanism. There's something called as ETL mechanism. This is the ETL development part done by the ETL developers. We are the testers. We will test these things, but this is done by the ETL developers. That particular logic, either they use an ETL tool called as Informatica, or they use a particular programming language called as PL SQL. One particular development I teach everyone so that they understand how the developers are doing, what they are doing, and what is our responsibilities. Our focus is mainly on ETL testing, but I show one development or particular filter transformation, the entire development in Informatica, so that they get a complete clarity. Am I clear about surrogate key? Tell me yes or no, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Surrogate key gets generated by itself by the ETL mechanism. You are not involved, and it will identify a record uniquely. It will be in sequential order. It will be a numeric value. It is okay. So these are the things in this surrogate key. This is the difference between primary key and surrogate key. So now, guys, if you have understood this much, any doubts, guys, still here? Is it fine?
Yes.
If it is fine, then we will move to a new topic called as initial load, full load, or first load. This is a topic when you have to understand when we load our data. Where we load our data, guys? In the data warehouse. So now this loading is done again using the Informatica tool. Okay. So suppose if I load our data. So first time if I load our data, suppose there are 100 records. Okay. There can be 10 lakh, 10 crore, 10 Arab data. I'm taking 100 records. Now 100 records for the first time if I load. Okay. What should we add tables? The table should be what? Completely, there should not be any record in the table where I'm going to load the data. I will run the ETL tool or run that ETL tool. And then what will happen? This 100 records will be loaded into the target table. Now what happened? 100 records were there in the source. That 100 record got loaded into the target table. There's the first time load, truncate and load. That means what? The table should be completely truncated. Truncated means what, guys? Do you remember truncate?
Yes, yes.
What is truncate?
It is deleted from the table. That
Yeah,
row.
there is no
Table
data.
structure will remain there, but data will delete.
Yes, so table structure will be there, but there will not be any data. Do you remember, guys? Truncate.
Yes.
What is the syntax for truncate? Truncate table name. Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
So that means what? The structure will be there, but there will not be any data. And initial load means what? Out of this 100 record, all these 100 records will be loaded where? In the data warehouse database. So that is called as first load, that is called as initial load, that is called as full load. All the names are given. Okay. So now in the initial load, what happened? First thing is what? The data will be loaded from source to the data warehouse. So it is called as initial load or full load. So the first point I have written. Second point I wrote is what? Initial load completely truncates the existing data from the target table and reload the fresh data. Always remember, in initial load or first load, there should not be any data in the target table. It should be completely truncated, and then only we can load. If there is data and if we load, that is not initial load. Then that will become something different. That will become incremental load and all. That is something completely different. Next is guide. the validation. So what are the validations, guys? This is the first load out of 100 records. 100 records have been loaded. So do you remember this validation? First is what?
Yes,
Data change
count.
using what? Count.
Mhm.
Then minus. Do you remember this?
Mhm.
A minus B, source minus target, and target minus source. Yes or no, guys? Yes.
Yes.
Any column given as that unique, we'll write the duplicate query for employee ID. Can you just tell me the query for employee ID for the duplicate query? What is the query, guys?
Select employee ID, comma
ID.
count of employee ID
ID.
Hmm.
It's
From-
a grid.
target.
From target, then
Group by
Group by
group by ID having count of
Having
employee
ID
ID greater than 1.
and then null check, and then as per business logic. These checks are
Yes,
same, whatever I have taught you till now. After that, guys, there is something called as incremental load or delta load or second load. This is important, guys. This is a very confusing thing, and most of the people don't know what is incremental load and delta load and second load, and how we do the validations for incremental load or delta load or second load. This is very critical thing. So now what happens is, guys, now 100 records are already loaded into the target table. Now I am inserting 5 more records. Okay, so now this is a very important thing. This is called as what? Incremental load or delta load or second load. Now 5 records are inserted. Now 5 records are inserted. So it is an increment. So increment is by 5 records. So that is called as what? Incremental load, because we are incrementing the number of records where? In the data warehouse database. Okay, fine. Now, how can we track that? Okay. So now, guys, this is very important. This is very important. Now what happened, guys? To understand it like this, now there is something called as source and there is something called as target. Now what happened, guys? In the target, how many records we have loaded? We have loaded 100 records. Now we are going to load 5 more records. Now what will happen, guys? In the target, how many records will be loaded? Tell me.
100.
100 plus 5, yes or no, guys? 100 is already there. Plus 5. So how many total records are loaded into the target now? Can you just tell me? 105. Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
This particular 5 is from what? From the incremental load, or also called as what? Delta load, also called as what? Second load. Yes or no, guys? Tell me yes or no.
Yes.
Yes.
The problem comes how to identify these 5 records. That is the challenge. So to identify this 5 record, the 100 record we have loaded from source to target, 100 we validated very easily. Now to validate this 5 record, it is a very challenging thing. What we have to do is, first of all, guys, this 100 record, how can we track it? The first thing is a column called as Etl Run Number. So this we need to know, Etl Run Number. Suppose, guys, what happened? This is a column present in the target table. Suppose first time we loaded, the Etl Run Number was 1. When we did what? When we did what? Full load. When we did full load, what happened, guys? Etl Run Number was 1. We remember that what was the Etl Run Number? That is what? 1. Now what is the second time? The Etl Run Number is 2. So that is for what? For the incremental load. So we can just put a criteria called as what? Etl Run Number equals to 2. Select count to start from target where Etl Run Number equals to 2. So what will be the count, guys? Can you just tell me? Can you just tell me, guys, if I write this query, select the star from target where Etl Run Number equals to what? Equals to 2. What will be the output, guys? Select count.
105.
Huh?
105.
No. Etl Run Number, how many records will come? Only 5 records. Yes or no?
Okay.
For Etl Run Number 1, how many records were loaded? Tell me.
100.
100. So for Etl Run Number 2, how many records were loaded?
5.
Yes or
5.
no, guys?
Yes.
Tell me yes or no, guys.
Yes.
Sir, can you explain this again? It's
Yes,
confusion.
So let us just understand, guys, this concept is a little tricky, okay? Little bit tricky, not that much tricky, but it is, yes. Many people are debating on these things, but you need to be very clear about this ETL, incremental load. Many people are still not clear, but you need to be very clear. So let us just see, guys, ETL run number, okay? Now this is your source. Understand like this. This is your source. and this is your target. Okay. Now, guys, here there was a particular. Suppose let us just take 100 records. Okay. So suppose there are 2 records. Okay. So now 1 and 2. Okay. These 2 records got loaded. Okay. So this is a target table. This is a source table. Now what happened? By ETL process, these 2 records got loaded. So suppose this is an employee ID column. Okay. This is an employee ID column. What happened, guys? This employee ID got loaded. Which are the employee ID get loaded, guys? 1 and 2. Yes or no, guys? Yes. And what is the ETL run number for this 1 and 2 is 1 only. Okay. This is a first load. And how many employee ID guys got loaded, guys? Can you just tell me how many records are loaded?
2.
2 records. Fine. This is called as what? First load or full load. So first load, we have loaded 2 records. This is file. Now what happened, guys? Now there's an incremental load. Incremental load, I am adding what? One particular record. Okay, I'm loading what? One particular record whose employee ID is 3. Now what will happen? We'll run the ETL workflow. Now what will happen? Now which record will be loaded? This 3 record is added, and ETL run number for this will be what?
2.
2. So now if I want to validate this particular data, how can I validate the guys? Can you just tell me? From the source and the target, what will be the query, guys? From the source, what will be the query? Can you just tell me?
Select the count of
a
employee
star
ID.
from source. Where what?
Employee ID.
Employee ID equals to 3. Yes or no, guys?
3. Yes, yes.
Minus I if I want to if I just want to validate the count first. This is in the source side. In the target, what will be the query, guys? Select count of star
From target.
Where what?
Employee ID.
ETL.
ETL run number equals to 2.
ETL run number equals to 2. Yes or no, guys? Tell me yes or no.
Yes.
Is it easy or not?
Yes.
Actually, how employee ID will come in source calculation?
What happened?
For a source query, select count of star from source where employee ID equal to 3. How it will be?
3.
In the source you have seen, right? Which is the particular data you have loaded? Yes or no, guys? You have loaded employee ID 3 or not? Tell me yes or no.
Yes, we have. We have loaded 3 later. No, that's why.
We have loaded which particular employee ID, guys? 3 or not in
3,
the incremental
yes.
load. So I have
Yes.
selected that employee ID 3 or not, guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
So this is one way to validate. I can write count minus duplicate all these things. This is one way. First thing what you have to tell is that in incremental load, to get the incremental data, we will use which column? ETL run number. Am I clear till this much? Tell me yes or no.
Is it ETL run number is a auto-generated one or how?
No. ETL run number is a column when the particular data warehouse is generated. The developers write a column called as ETL run number, where they to track the ETL runs, they put a column called as ETL run number to track how many times the ETL has been run. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. You mean to say when new record is inserted or existing data gets modified, then this time it is for incremental load.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So guys, see now this is what a particular thing I have told you. One way I have told you in incremental load to identify the incremental data is what the ETL run number. Are you clear till this concept? Tell me yes or no.
Yeah.
Next is what based on the columns, guys. This is one way to identify. Next is what? Column. There is something called as created date column. That means the date it was the loaded, and then there is something called as update column. The date at which this is updated, this particular record got updated. Based on these columns also we can identify. Next is, guys, the main thing is that the maximum value. What is the maximum value, guys? That means what? This is also very important, guys. Based on the maximum value means what, guys? Suppose I have noted the maximum value in the target. Suppose date of joining. So what I did is, this is in the target, okay? In the target, there is something called as date of joining, okay? Date of joining. Now what happened, guys? There's a lot of date of joining here, okay? Suppose employee ID 1, he has joined on suppose something some date, suppose the 10th of something December 2021. Okay, 2021. And now here he has joined on 10th of December 2020, and he has joined on 10th of December 2019. Okay, so this is what particular date of joining, guys. Now I have to notify what the maximum date of joining. The maximum date of joining here I can say is 10 December 2021. Okay, fine. I have noted this particular data from the target table. Now I will again load the data from the source to target. Now if I am loading the data, I have noticed what from the source, from the target, the maximum date of joining is 10 December 21. Now if any data get loaded more than this value, that means that is an incremented value. This is the second concept. We based on the maximum value. The maximum date of joining for the first load was 10 December 21. Now I am going to do an incremental load. So now if I do an incremental load, this till here it is what? Full join, first join. Till here it is the first join. I have noted what is the maximum value for the full load? Maximum value for the full load for date of joining is what, guys? Can you just tell me? 10 December 2021. This is the maximum value for the full load. Fine. Now what happened, guys? Now if I load our data, okay, suppose now I am loading an employee ID 4 with a date of joining called as 11 December 2021. So what will happen is, guys, this will be 4, this will be 3, and here it will be what? 11 December 2021. That means what, guys? This is the incremented data. This is the incremental data. So this we need to verify based on what? Maximum value. First, we noted the maximum value. Then whatever data is loaded, the maximum value will validate the data for that. That is nothing but your incremental data load testing. So what happened here? What happened, guys? We loaded the maximum value, that is noted the maximum value, that is 10 December 2021. And then what happened, guys? In the target table, we wrote a query. Select a star from target where date of joining is greater than 10th December 2021. What will be the output of this query? Can you just tell me, guys? Output will be what? No record found. Yes or no? Because in the first load, there is no record where date of joining is greater than 10 December 2021. So before the job run, we have noted this. Now after we'll run the job, what will happen? Now the data from the source will be loaded for the date of joining greater than 10 December 2021. So the validation will be what? Select a star from source where date of joining is greater than 10 December 2021 minus select a star from target where date of joining is greater than 10 December 2021. Did you understand this validation? Tell me yes or no.
Maximum. Okay.
Tell me yes or no. So first we validated based on what? Etl run number column. Next we have validated based on what? Maximum value. Yes or no, guys? Yes.
Yes.
And then there is something called as STD. Do you remember that? I taught you STD or not, slowly changing dimension, all the validations. Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
So this is again now, if it is a slowly changing dimension, these changes are only that if the changes is happening for a 1 or 2 table. So one table is changing. Now what will happen? Then we will get the data based on the Etl run number column, based on the date columns, based on what? The maximum value. One table is changing. So entire dimension is not changing. Only one table is changing. So we will use these techniques. But if it is a completely slowly changing dimension, type 1, type 2, type 3, I told the validations or not? Yes, yes or no?
Yes.
So we will go for that. If it is SCD behavior, then we have to go for with the validations what we saw yesterday for SCD validations. So remember these 3 points, which is a very important points I just mentioned here. First is what? Incremental load applies ongoing changes to 1 or more table based on the business logic. So based on the business logic, 1 or 2 tables are changing, then we will go for the maximum value, all this Etl run number or this particular date columns. Based on the business logic, one data is updated in the source, the corresponding target table should show the updated value would be the tester. Okay, so one data is getting updated, we'll check that the particular data has been updated or not. This particular testing is done with respect to 1 or 2 table. But if it is a SCD, then the behavior needs to be expected. Do you remember SCD type 1? What happened, guys? Can everyone tell me what is SCD type 1? data gets overwritten. Yes or no?
Yes.
SCD type 2, what happens? Number of records get added and we have the all the historic record. Yes or no, guys? Yes.
Yes.
SCD type 3, we have partial history. What is that? A person moved from India to US to UK. We will have only last two values, US and UK. One column will be added. What is that? Previous value and the current value. Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
If you understood this initial load, incremental load, then there is something called as integration testing. So integration testing is nothing, guys. You know, we will check the data or the ETL function, ETL process function with respect to the downstream process. That means, do you remember ETL architecture? What happens in ETL architecture? Data goes from where, guys? Everyone tell me, data goes from where? From the source to the staging to the data warehouse to the data mart, and from data mart to where?
Report. Dash. Yes.
PI report. Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
See, in manual testing, integration testing is what? Checking the data flow between the modules. If you remember manual testing, if you have some idea what happens, if in a Gmail page, a user logins into the application and composes a mail and send it to the user B and just log out as user B, and then user B login into the application and checks his inbox, that mail has been sent or not. That is nothing but the integration testing. With respect to the manual testing, is very, very easy. The data flow is happening between the modules or not. If we are sending a mail to a particular user, that user has received that mail or not, that is nothing but the manual testing. But here it is not manual testing. In ETL testing, what we will tell, guys, how the data flow will happen. Can you just everyone tell me what is the architecture I have told? Source to staging to data warehouse to data mart to PI report to yes or no, guys?
Yes.
Fine. So this is what is called as what? Integration testing. Now integration testing, what will happen from the source if the data is masked and then loaded into the target. Then again, what is the masking rule? Based on that, we'll validate the source to target. Data masking means what, guys? Data is masked. Okay, mask means what, guys? There's a particular logic given. What is that logic, guys? This is a source. Okay. Here, what happens? There is something called as employee ID. Okay, now employee ID is what, guys? Is suppose here simple employee ID is 1, 2, and what happened in the target? There is a logic given. What is the logic? If employee ID is 1, mask it to A. If employee ID is 2, mask it to B. So this is nothing but your data masking project. What happened, guys? Data from the source is getting masked and getting loaded into the target. Yes or no, guys? So this is called as what? Data masking project, where data is getting masked. So we need to validate the data masking project with respect to the ETL tester. We have to unmask it and check it. Suppose I wanted to validate the data. How will I check, guys? Can you just tell me the minus query? Can you just try? How can I use the minus query? Can you just tell me? Select EID from source.
From source.
Minus what?
Select.
How will you unmask it? Tell me.
Unmask.
Yeah, you have. How will you use the minus query? Tell me. Select. What function I should use? Do you remember decode? Yes or no, guys? Yes.
Decode.
So what I can write? I can write what? Or I can use case statement. Anything you can write. Suppose case. When? What is the logic? EID. EID. When EID equals to A. Then what will happen, guys? Then we have to mask it with what? Tell me, guys, we have to mask it with what? 1. Yes or no, guys? Yes.
Else.
Case. Yeah, we can write. Yeah, only 2 cases are there. So else, when what? EID is what? EID is what, guys? Tell me.
B.
B. Then what will happen, guys? Then
0.
we'll mask 0, huh? B. No. When EID is what? 1. When
2.
EID is 1, guys.
Then 2.
When EID is 1, then we are masking it to what? A? Yes or no, guys? Yes. When EID is 2, we are masking to what?
2.
We are masking to
B.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we will end it this particular case statement and name it as what? EID something. Okay, and then from the what? From the target. And then we can do the minus. What will be the output, guys? Can you just tell me? Output will be what?
No rows found.
No
No
rows found.
records found.
Yes or no, guys? Did you understood data masking, how it is done and how it is validated? Yes or no, guys? Tell me yes or no.
Yes.
So this is what is the integration testing. Data can be masked or unmasked, and data can be loaded from the ETL project as per the ETL project architecture, and then we have to validate. Next and the last topic, what today we are going to learn is the regression testing. I don't know how many of you have knowledge in the with respect to manual testing. What is regression testing, guys? Anyone
The
knows?
complete testing from initial stage to.
That is regression testing.
When there is a
No,
field
when
code change.
there is a change in code and new code will add to the old one. So we need to check whether old code is affected or not in regression testing.
So regression testing, what happened, guys? Because of the new feature, it might have affected what? Old feature, and testing of that old feature again is called as regression testing. Yes or no, guys? Manual testers. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Regression testing, what happened? There's a Gmail application. There is something called as what? Compose. There's something called as what? Inbox. Now what happened? These two modules was developed. Now what happened? What is the change? Now what is the new development? New development is what? We are developing what? A draft module. Now because of this draft module, it might have affected what? It might have affected the inbox feature. So testing of this inbox feature again is called as regression testing or not, guys? Tell me yes or no. Testing of inbox again is called as what? Regression testing. That means what, guys? We are testing what? The old feature again because of the effect of the new feature. Yes or no, guys? Tell me yes or no.
Yes.
Do you remember regression testing? Because of the new feature, it might have affected the old feature. Testing of the old feature again because of the impact of the new feature is called as what? Regression testing. Do you remember this? Tell me yes or no. Yes. So this is with respect to the manual testing, that because of the new feature, it might have affected the old feature. We are testing the old feature again. So that is called as regression testing. And regression testing, generally people go for automation also because that features are already stable and already being tested. So now with respect to the ETL testing, how we'll do the regression testing? This is very, very important, very, very critical and very, very conceptual. Understand this. Now, guys, what happened in regression testing is, did you understood what is regression testing, guys? Because of the new feature, it might have affected the old feature. So we are going to test the old feature again. Yes or no, guys? Tell me yes or no.
Yes.
Guys, are you there? Yes. So now with respect to ETL testing, how we'll do the regression testing? Suppose there is a table whose name is EMP. Okay. Now this table EMP, what happened, guys, is having all the columns and everything. Now it is having all the data. Now what happened, guys, is now we are going to do some changes in this table. So going to do changes means what? Changes means what? Suppose in this there is a employee number column. Now employee number was 1. Now I have updated this employee number. Or suppose employee number I have not updated. I have updated this employee name. So what I'm updating this employee name? His name was suppose Smith. Now I'm updating this particular Smith to something Raj. Okay. So now this name is updated. Now what will happen, guys? Now because of these changes, what will happen? It might have affected the old table. So how can we do regression testing? This is very conceptual topic. Please pay attention, as you will never understand regression testing with respect to ETL testing. Please focus here. This is the base table, EMP table. Yes or no, guys? Tell me yes or no. Yes. Guys, are you there?
Yes.
This is EMP table. Yes or no, guys? Yes. Now this table is having, which are the columns, guys? Do you remember that? Which are the columns? I have this table or not?
Employee name.
Yeah, I already have this table. Yes. Let me just go through this table. Yes. Yes, this is the table. Yes or no, guys? Now which are the column here? employee number, employee name,
job,
job, manager, hire date, salary, commission, department number. Yes or no, guys? Yes.
Yes.
So this is my table. Okay, let me just put it into this. Okay. Now this is the table. Now fine. What happened, guys? Here is now what is the requirement is this Smith name is getting changed to Raj. I'm changing this name to what? To the Raj. This is my source table. Now what I'm changing? I'm changing the name of Smith to Raj. Yes or no, guys? Yes. So now this is the updated changes. Now because of these changes, this job might have got affected. Okay, this clerk might have become clerk 1. So how to check this feature? Because of this change, it might have affected the old features. Testing of these old features again is called as regression testing. Because of the new changes, it might have affected what? Old features. Testing of the old features again is called as regression testing. Are you clear with the definition? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So because of this new feature, what is the new feature? Name of Smith is changed to what? Raj. Now, guys, since the feature has been changed, what will happen? It might have affected the old feature. This clerk might have become clerk 1. So how to do this testing? There is something concept called as backup table. Do you remember that, guys? Tell me yes or no. How to create a backup table? CTAS method. Do you remember that? I told you something called as create table name as, do you remember that? Select star from EMP. Do you remember this query? What is the output of this query, guys? Can everyone tell me? A table will be created whose name will be what? BCK, and it will have all the records same as which table?
Employee table.
Employee table. Now this is a backup table I have created. Yes or no, guys? Now
Yes.
whatever changes is happening in EMP, let it happen. Later on, what I will do is, after the changes, what I will do is, I will just write the query, select the start from backup. Okay. Now this is my This is my the base table. Okay. Now if there is any changes happening in the backup table is now saved. Now if the base table is getting changed or it is not getting changed, I have the backup table and then I can write a minus query. Yes or no, guys? From the target table. Yes or no, guys? Tell me yes or no. So what is the technique, guys? First we'll create a backup table. Now whatever changes is happening, let it happen. Okay. So now because of these changes, it has not affected the old features. So to prevent that, what we have done, we have created a backup table and then we will minus it with the target table with whatever conditions are there. And then we can check that the other features are not changed. Yes or no, guys? Tell me yes or no. Are you there with me? Tell me yes or no. Did you understood regression testing with respect to ETL testing? What we do, guys? Tell me what we do.
So when we have to create a backup table daily basis or
no. Whenever you want to do the changes in the existing table, you have to first create a backup table and then do the changes in the table, and then you can compare that the changes has not affected the existing feature using A minus B or B minus A. Yes or no, guys? Yes.
So whenever changes will be done by the tester only.
Yeah, regression testing is done by the testers. Why, guys? Because see, regression testing is what? Testing of the old features which might have affected because of the new features. Okay. So now what happened? There's a feature change in the new table. Okay. Now new table, there's some changes I did. I did what? I changed the name from Smith to Raj. So this is a particular change I have done. Now because of that, it might have affected our base table. So we have already created a backup of the base table. So what will happen, guys? So now if there is any effect, there's any impact, I already have the backup table and I can do the backup table minus the target table with the condition, and I can see that there is no changes done apart from the new changes. Yes or no, guys? Yes. So this is what is the thing regression testing. What happens in regression testing is first we will create the backup of the table and then load the data, and then what we'll do? Then we will do what? A minus B or B minus A. And the output should be what? No record found. Yes or no, guys? Tell me guys, are you comfortable with regression testing?
Yes.
So way is what? First you create a what? First create what? A backup table. Now what will happen guys? This backup table is having the old data. Now in the target table, what is the changes we have done? We have changed the name where? Where what we did guys? We changed the name to what? To the Raj, for which employee name?
Smith.
So I can write where? What? I can write where name equals to what? Raj. That's all. Just we have to just we can just consider that particular change, and rest everything should match. So we can write we can do this what? A minus B, and that changes should be what? Here what will happen guys? Changes will be only in what?
One
Only
row.
in what?
One row.
Only in that one record. What is that? Raj, or on that Raj name. Or if I want to change the detail, how can I change the detail guys? Do you remember that decode your case statement? Yes or no? I can write what? If I want to the no records, then what I will do? I will write the entire query. What I will write? Select. Then what I will write? Case. What I will write? If, right, when ename equals to what guys? Tell me the query ename equals to what?
Raj.
Smith. When ename equals to Smith, then what changes to what? When ename equals to Raj, then what we'll do? When ename equals to Raj, then change it to what guys? Change it to Smith.
Smith.
Okay, that's all is the change. Okay guys, and okay, and then rest of the column, that is whatever that is column is there, salary, employee number, department number, all those queries from which table? From the target table. And then this backup table is there, so we can just write this, select all these columns, e-name and salary and department number, etc. from backup table, and then we will do a minus. What I will do? Minus, and then what should be the output of this query guys? Backup minus this target. What should be the output guys? What should be the output? No records found. Yes or no guys? Tell me yes or no. Tell me yes or no guys.
Yes.
So this is the way we do regression testing. First create a backup table, then whatever changes is done, let it happen, and then at the time of validation just consider that changes in the query, and then do A minus B, and there should not be any record found. This is called as regression testing with respect to what? ETL testing. Did you understood this much? Tell me yes or no. Everyone, did
Yes.
you understand this much?
Yes.
So this is what we have learned. We have learned the difference between OLTP, OLAP. We have learned integration testing. We learned in initial load, incremental load. We also learned what? Regression testing. Yes or no, guys? Yes. Tomorrow, the plan is to learn UAT testing and all the test strategies which are generally used in ETL testing. Data completeness, data validation, data quality, initial, incremental, integration, regression, BI reporting, and user acceptance testing. This I will tell you how to tell this test strategies or test plan whenever you will prepare or tell with respect to ETL testing, all these 9 testing. Always keep in mind, ETL testing is finally on this 9 testing. This 9 testing I will tell you, then we will start the BI report testing, the particular Power BI tool. We'll start generate the report, we'll learn some part of development, and then focus on mainly on the testing, how to check a particular report with respect to performance, with respect to data, with respect to functionality, with respect to UI, everything neatly we will understand each and everything with respect to the BI report testing. So that's all for today, guys. So have a nice day, and